Selling your XLM for Casper, is that smart? We got a frenzy of angry comments these past couple weeks, specifically when Matty sold his XLM for Casper. Was this a good decision? Stick around for this whole show where we tackle how to manage your portfolio correctly.
If you can detach yourself from the fact that these are not your babies and they're just assets, and the goal is to sell them at a higher price than today and to maximize every dollar you put in today to be worth as much as it possibly can be in the future, it completely changes the way you think about your portfolio. I know that I will make more money doing it the way I'm doing it now.
All right, Matty, welcome back to the Ask Matty show. Matty, how are you feeling?
I'm doing excellent, feeling great today.
Well, that is great to hear, Matty, because we have a banger show today. Team, we are getting into your comments, your hot takes, your questions. But before we do that, become a Crypto Charge member. We're doing a lot of great things over there. We're there every single day giving you that education. Click the link in the pinned comment below. And below that, you can click on the shop.cryptocharge link, get some swag, got some cool stuff, hats, sweatshirts. You know, rep the squad. And finally, subscribe to this YouTube channel, team. It greatly helps us grow. But in today's show, your comments, your questions, your hot takes, we're about to get into it. Matty, are you ready?
Let's do it, baby.
Harry, inappropriate last name, says, I use Ledger Nano for the crypto I have in cold storage. I have XDC, Algo, XLM left on Uphold. What cold storage do I need for those? Matty, well, first of all, before we get into it, what's going on with Uphold right now? And I would love to hear like your updated thoughts here on this show. I know you gave your thoughts on the Crypto Charge live show on our website. Can you also, when you give your response here, share a little bit about your updated thoughts on Uphold? Because this is like what Harry's asking here was probably like he probably is trying to pull his coins off Uphold after you took your Uphold stance. What's Uphold? What do they do? And what's your current stance on them? And what should Harry do with his crypto here?
Yeah, so you have a few assets here, and a lot of these are natively available to just store directly inside Ledger Live in your cold storage, directly. You don't have to create a third-party wallet. Some of these do require that you create like a third-party wallet, and the Ledger essentially helps secure those assets and allows you to get access to those, so that if someone were to try to break into your account, they would need your physical device in order to authorize transactions. So essentially to send cryptocurrencies outside of that wallet. So again, any asset can be secured using Ledger. Sometimes there's just the extra step, but if you go to Ledger's website, you're unsure how to go about it, just search the asset, and there's generally steps about how to go about that. Otherwise, there's a lot of Reddit threads on how to specifically move that particular asset or preferred wallets and how to link those using Ledger. But again, any of these reputable assets, especially if they have a third-party wallet and they're not natively allowing you to store that using the Ledger Live software and create wallets natively there, they're generally going to give you the ability to connect your Ledger to that. They want to make sure you have those instructions. So that's going to be the best way to go about that. Part two of the question, or kind of fully encompassing the comment here, is with Uphold. So I am glad to see that Uphold is moving towards allowing full access for assets. They recently upgraded Algorand. They recently upgraded Casper. They're slowly working on making assets fully integrated is kind of the way they're talking about it. And they talk about assets in tiers. This is a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. And based on the tier, you can either buy and sell within our platform, or you can withdraw these assets, or you can deposit and withdraw these assets. In my opinion, if you can't deposit and withdraw, it's not a full service exchange. There's something that they haven't done on their end that they need to do to make that really your assets, right? So, I'm glad to see that withdrawals are available. But again, I think that Uphold dragged their feet for so long to give us full access to things like Casper, even Algorand, right? When the instructions are there, it's not the secret, information where these token creators are going to say, hey, we're going to keep it a secret on how to, create wallets, and we're not going to give you any support on how to, allow withdrawals and deposits on a mass scale. They're incentivized to help you do that. Uphold decided to use their resources to list new tokens continuously, which again, I understand that they're a business. They're not a charity. They're here to make money. So if tokens are popular, like PayPay, for example, they're going to list that because they make money off the trading fees. They don't make money off of you, just buying and sending to cold storage, right? They're obviously going to make money on the deposit, which right now is, by the way, 3.5% deposit fee, which is a little on the high side, in my opinion. So, again, if you're going to use Uphold, they are fully reserved from like a solvency standpoint. I don't have any issues with Uphold. It's more of the principle for me. I'm not going to do business with an exchange that really just kind of left us on red, gave us a lot of radio silence. When I was just asking a lot of like the simple questions on Twitter, not just me, a lot of the community asking, hey, what is that timeline look like for Casper? And we just kept hearing soon, 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 soon. And that was over 12 months, right? So a lot of people had their assets locked up in Uphold, unable to withdraw, unable to earn those staking rewards, unable to have full access, and being imprisoned in the Uphold ecosystem and not being able to sell anywhere else. So you had to give Uphold essentially your business on both the buy side and the sell side. And the whole beauty of crypto is that you don't have to do that. You can choose to buy and sell on different exchanges and choose to do things that are the best for you in your liquidity. So, you know, I'm going to continue to not use Uphold and I'm going to continue to use cold storage.
That's good, Matty. The principle matters here, and it's just so funny because we did a show, we were doing like a load of TikToks just about Uphold recently, and it kind of changed, and I think this viewer, this is a two-parter here, In the Sun says, good Lord, bro, gotta think your video prompted them to get their ish together and make it happen. Amazing work, amazing use of your voice and power. And then he also goes on to say, prior to your recent YouTube video, I thought MEXC wasn't legally good to go for us in the US. You made me look deeper, and it seems like there's no red flags, huh? So no red flags, Matty, and I liked his positive comment there because I feel like we did prompt something there a little bit, maybe a little bit.
Right. No, I'd like to believe so. And, you know, Kevin Cage has also been a big proponent over there on Twitter and whatnot, kind of doing a collaborative effort with his group as well to try to, you know, make it known from a community standpoint what we want and what we need. And that's really what crypto should be about, is it should be community-based. And the whole decentralized aspect of crypto is that we should be able to have full control and do whatever we want with these assets. So, you know, again, super grateful that Uphold has provided the ability for U.S. citizens to buy and sell XRP and withdraw that from the get-go this entire time, right? So I'm not going to bash them on that. That's a huge contribution. But again, it's important that we have full access. But yeah, at MEXC, in part two of this question here, Kevin Cage is also a very big proponent of MEXC. It's where he likes to do a lot of his buying and selling of Casper. And the big reason that he does that there, even though the liquidity is a little thinner, is that there isn't that withdrawal limit like there is with KuCoin. Now, I don't really have that issue because I'm always just taking my buys directly off into my cold storage device, so I'm not really concerned about getting stuck. But again, I think a good combination of MEXC, KuCoin, even BitGet is a good place to look for your Casper, right? You have plenty of opportunity to buy and sell other places. BitTrue as well is not a bad exchange, but I think as far as deep liquidity books, KuCoin has probably one of the deepest liquidity pools when it comes to Casper. You're going to get filled pretty close to your ask price.
Hunter says, when do you think more major exchanges will list Casper like Binance and Coinbase?
Soon, but you know, deep down, I hope that it actually is not super soon, and not because I don't want to have access. Right, it's way more convenient for me to be able to just buy off of Coinbase and then send it straight to my cold storage when it's available. But I know that those
Coinbase.
But onboarding in Coinbase. But if Casper was available right there to buy on Coinbase, right, there's less steps to take, be able to just buy in that deep liquidity pool, take it right to my cold storage device. But when you get a big listing on one of these exchanges, you generally see a really big pump. So I'm deep down hoping that I get a little bit more time to accumulate, get my Casper bag a little bit bigger before we get these big listing exchanges, because generally when you get a big listing exchange, you see a nice appreciation in price. That's also going to be a good opportunity for us to potentially scale out of a portion of our bag, you know, and look to buy back in at a higher low there. So overall, I think it's coming soon. I can't remember the name of the exchange. It was about 3 days ago. They announced that there was another exchange. It was a smaller exchange just listed Casper. But again, I think that, you know, based on the roadmap that they have, the regulatory understanding they have of what they're actually trying to do, the partnerships with IPWE, Porsche, all these different people coming online to the Casper blockchain, I think that we're very close to a very big listing for Casper.
Yeah, you caught me off guard there, Matty. I completely misheard you. I was like, oh, is Coinbase allowing Casper buys for Matty here, and just Matty?
Just me exclusively. I called up Brian Armstrong and, you know, special request. So no.
All right, let's ramp it up here a little bit, Matty. J. Henry Ocho says, no disrespect, but thinking about your portfolio like this is pretty dorky. And he's quoting Matty here, I have too much in this specific sector, so I better allocate into this other sector, or I might be too saturated in one sector. Bruh, just buy more Casper and keep your XLM. Matty, what is your thoughts on this?
So, okay, so I feel like I've explained this a million times, and, you know, you guys are going to manage your portfolios the way that's best for you. I'm not telling you that the way I manage my portfolio is the way that you should be managing your portfolio. Everyone started at different points. Everybody has different allocations, different averages, and different overall experience in the market, right? Time in market versus timing in the market. I've had a lot of time in market, so I have overall more experience of what these cycles look like, more experience in volatile markets. So I'm going to appropriate accordingly. I think about it like this. If you don't have assets in anything else, or like 80% of your portfolio is in the Dow Jones, and you see that there's other asset classes that you should have been exposed to, or new opportunities that are going to come up, right? Like you didn't know that the NASDAQ or the S&P 500 existed, which exposes you to a completely different vertical of assets. Yes, can you just start dollar cost averaging into those ETFs, those indices, and start to build a position? Yes, and that is what I started to do with Casper, right? I already had built a good sized Casper position, and if I had stuck with that exact position, still would have been completely happy with end of bull run results. But again, when I'm looking at two assets that are nearly identical, it seems foolish, especially when one of them has a higher upside than another, and that's XRP. XRP has a bigger technical upside, in my opinion, from a Fibonacci extension standpoint. So just, apples to apples, if we're just being strict about the numbers here, XRP has better upside potential, in my opinion. And again, everyone has, their different analytics about what they believe about that. That's what the charts are telling me. I don't need to be so incredibly heavy weighted in one particular asset class when I already have the fundamental and technical play for that, right? Like if you're already exposed 50% in the Dow Jones, are you going to continue to add, 20 and 30% to other near identical ETFs that mirror similar things that the Dow assets that are in the Dow Jones? Or does it make more sense to diversify yourself into other asset classes, looking at real estate, looking at metals, looking at, Roth IRAs, looking at life insurance policy, IULs, right? Like it doesn't make sense to me to say, I'm going to stay solely focused on this because the Dow Jones has a lot of good assets in it and they're going to continue to do well in the future. I have no doubt about that, right? But I'm not going to be microscopic about it. So, you can think it's dorky. You can think I'm making a mistake here. You can think that, it's a juvenile way of approaching investing, but really everybody rebalances. I mean, I can't look at every single YouTuber out there right now. Is their portfolio exactly the same as it is today as it was 2 or 3 years ago? No, of course not. Show me one YouTuber that has their exact same portfolio they had 2 or 3 years ago. They rebalance, they sell off some portions of their portfolio, they reinvest in new things that come out. Don't close your eyes to opportunity.
First of all, Jay, dorky people, in my opinion, the dorky people I've met, typically make the most money. But also, Matty, wouldn't you agree? Because he says, keep your XLM, keep buying Casper. But if you were just to continue DCAing Casper, that doesn't mean buy bull run time. Like your portfolio will be balanced. And I don't really think he believes in this whole rebalancing thing. Like you could be way weighted in an asset that's not even within your portfolio. Matty, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think that another portion of this too is that, people get married to their assets, right? They get emotionally involved with whatever it is. In this example, we're talking about XLM here. I know some people feel just as passionately about XLM as I feel about XRP. So in their heads, they're like, wow, you idiot. Why would you sell the most valuable asset in the entire world? But again, they're just assets, guys, right? Like, and if you can detach yourself from the fact that these are not your babies and they're just assets, and the goal is to sell them at a higher price than today and to maximize every dollar you put in today to be worth as much as it possibly can be in the future, it completely changes the way you think about your portfolio. I don't care about my assets. I care about what they're going to do for me in the future. I care about what they're going to do for the financial system. I care about what they're going to do for the world fundamentally. But I don't own a blockchain business, right? So I don't have this need to hoard huge amounts of XLM or XRP. My goal is to make money cycle after cycle, keep portions of that bag of my highest quality assets. And there's some portions of my portfolio I will let go of completely at the end of cycle because I want to position myself to have more dry powder. So when inevitably, the next cycle comes around and the new bear market comes, there will be somebody building into that bear market. There will be another Casper in this next bear market, right? So I want to make sure that I'm prepared for that. And that's the way I'm approaching it.
Matty, what I'm really hearing from this comment here is that taking a fundamental and technical approach is too nerdy. In my opinion, I wouldn't listen to anyone that's not taking a fundamental or technical approach. I don't know. And you said juvenile earlier, but it's really smart. It's really getting into the nitty gritty about what we are investing in. And those are the only people I'll listen to, right?
Right. you know, it's difficult to look out of the weeds sometimes. And, you know, you think if somebody doesn't have like this overall like 20-year enthusiasm about something, that they don't believe in it or they don't care, or, you know, they're just here for the moment. That's not true. We're investors and I'm a trader. And if you don't see it that way, that's fine. We're looking at our long-term investments differently. If that works for you, fantastic. I know that I will make more money doing it the way I'm doing it now.
Tough. Love it, Matt. GM for life, what's the best DEX?
So, you know, DEX wise, I would say probably the two biggest competitors are going to be SushiSwap and Uniswap. Both very good DEXs, you know, have good integration. They're offering, you know, integrations for cold storage devices to be able to interact with those DEXs as well. So that's very good. So again, I wouldn't say necessarily one is better than the other. It's really based on, you know, what assets you're particularly interested in. But I like both Uniswap and SushiSwap. I think that they're here to stay through multiple cycles.
User too many numbers. Is gold and silver safer than the US dollar?
Okay, so, you know, the whole reason we invest, right? And the whole reason we want to try to take money aside from, you know, we look at our budget, we go, okay, this is how much I need for bills, and this is how much I need for savings, and this is how much money I have to invest, right? Like we kind of have to like budget that out. Out of the money that we're saving and we're investing, we always have to look at, like, especially out of our savings, what kind of interest am I earning? Am I, you know, how much is this depreciating with inflation, right? And we know that, you know, the average, quote unquote, average rate of inflation is like 3%. Over the last 2 or 3 years, that's ramped up exponentially. I would say your money is losing somewhere between 7 and 12% right now per year, which is very aggressive, right? So like if long-term savings should be locked up in CDs, high interest yield accounts, money market accounts, right? Like that's what you should be doing with your non-emergency fund money. I do hold physical metals, gold and silver, but unlike Peter Schiff, who's a huge proponent of, you know, metals as a hedge against inflation, what we've seen most recently over the last several years, and the C19 crash was a perfect example of this, is that metals really trade more like a risk on asset, like stocks and cryptocurrencies. That's perfectly illustrated when we saw the C19 crash, because if that was true, and we know that, you know, gold and silver are a safe haven currency, and, you know, people flock to it in times of crisis, or they flock to it in times of high inflation, we would see gold and silver skyrocket when we see an event like that, while the rest of risk on assets like stocks and cryptocurrencies crash. But we didn't see that. We saw a cumulative crash. We saw gold and silver crash down to astronomical lows, to the point where like JM Bullion and all these places sold out and didn't have anything left to sell. You know, people were selling it at additional premiums because the prices were so low and lucrative. And of course, anyone who's a long-term investor knows these are great prices. Of course, I'm going to, you know, capitalize on this because long-term, this is a good price. So I really look at it as just another risk on asset. I do not look at it as my most aggressive grower. If by the time I retire, you know, in the next, you know, couple decades here, I'm able to sell my gold and silver for 4 to 5x what I paid for it today, I'll be incredibly happy. So it's really more of a slow boogie. It's also kind of a privacy play a bit, because if you buy these gold and silver bars and bullions and, you know, pieces of silver and gold, you can of course take those to gold and silver shops and get those cash for those. You can sell online. You could trade cryptocurrency for those online. It gives you kind of an ability to have a little bit of privacy with those savings, but I wouldn't necessarily consider it safer than the US dollar. Fiat is fiat. Assets and investments are investments. So that's how I look at it.
I love that, Matty. Wow, I have nothing to like even follow up with you, because I feel like you just nailed the head. Nailed it there. There you go. Team, we had a banger of a show last week. We actually did like a 36-minute show. I know a lot of people were concerned about this whole Ledger drama, controversy. We're not going to talk about it this week. We're still waiting on, like, I was like, you know, flipping through what Ledger had to say. They did some like some spaces, or like, you know, some things on Twitter. CEO hasn't really said too much, just like, you know, protect his name and the company's name. So still waiting on that, because I'm very interested to see how they play out. Anything new, Matty? Ledger recovery, anything new you're expecting? I know you said you just want a completely new device or a completely different product. Do you still want that same thing? I
mean, I personally, for myself, don't desire a recovery product.
Yeah.
That's, you know, but I really think it's the only viable way forward for Ledger. There is going to be a customer base that's completely done with Ledger now, just because they know that there is potentially the way to extract and copy the keys from the enclave. And I get that. I understand that, you know, for some people, they need that primal level of trust. But again, I stated this on Twitter. If there is a centralized entity that controls the firmware update of the software that you interact with, whether we're talking about Trezor, whether we're talking about Ledger, or any other software where you interact on your device, whether it's an iPad or a PC or whatever it is, they technically could roll out some sort of firmware update that could allow that to happen in the future. So there's always some level of trust that you have to have that the centralized entities are going to have your best interest at heart. Deeper down, I think about it too, right? Like, what is going to happen to Ledger and Trezor and all these sales if they were to breach our trust like that and, you know, give all of our private keys to, you know, government entities or whatever? That completely destroys their business model, right? They have zero incentive to destroy their customer base, right? So again, everybody makes mistakes. They jump out. They came in with a product that they thought was going to be highly beneficial, and it could be very beneficial to certain individuals. But for the majority of individuals who use actively cold storage devices, they don't want that service. So I think that they need to just roll out with a separate product, if at all. Otherwise, don't even offer it to existing users.
Yeah, it's not worth it. Not worth it.
Right.
At least from, you know, you got an OG Ledger user here, and I just got my first Ledger this year, so I mean, I didn't really care about it too much because I just, you know, it's like a separate thing. You know, I'm not going to opt into it. Right. But obviously people have those issues. All right, Matty, those were all the questions for today. We're in June now, which is like basically like halfway through the year. Anything you're predicting for the end of this year? Looking forward, what do you expect?
So I know that a lot of people kind of have put out of their minds the idea of lower prices still coming. And one of the things I'm still considering, right, I'm looking at what's going on with the macroeconomic environment right now. And I'm still considering the fact that we've had such high inflation, such weak economic progress. We're definitely seeing, you know, a slowdown in the economy as a whole. And we still haven't had the announcement of a recession yet. So generally, when you get that announcement, you will see a sharp decline in prices, and that's across the board: stocks, cryptocurrencies, and metals. And of course, after that announcement, generally you see really nice appreciation, you know, for the next 12 to 18 months moving forward. Like historically, when you look especially at indices, really, really nice returns moving forward. So I would still consider trying to have some dry powder aside, because if we were to get that scenario, recession announcement, bottom out, that would be, in my opinion, the start of a full retracement for the cryptocurrency market into the end of this year. Maybe we see a very big correction towards the end of this year. And of course, the halving is at the top of next year, March, April of next year, which is really not that far away, guys. So, you know, be prepared, still set aside some dry powder, DCA, be prepared, because I think we're going to have a lot of opportunity at the end of this year, as well as well into 2024 and 2025.
I'm really excited, Matty. I'm absolutely excited. I'm especially excited for people that listen in and tune in, but I'm really excited for our Crypto Charged members who we get to talk to on a daily basis, Matty, because those are people that we know intimately, you know, and who we talk to and who have been through kind of the grind that, you know, I've been around you, and then I've also been around them and got to hear their stories and what they're hoping for, you know, investing into this asset class. And I think it's just going to be an exciting time next year. So team, if you want to be tapped into that, become a Crypto Charged member. Like I said, click the link in the pinned comment below. If you can't do that, at least subscribe here so you can stick around with us. But until next time, team, that is all we have for today. Until next time, see ya.